Hello, my name is Muhammad Irshad bin Rafli. Matrix number PB23110467. Today I will be presenting my part, which is construct appropriate graphs or charts to compare the relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency between the two key performance indicators. So let's start. So first we move to the first key indicator, which is the production cost. Before we build a graph, it is better for us to construct a table that provide data that we needed, so it will be easier for us to make the graph later on. So the data that we needed exactly as the table shows in the slide. Based on relative frequency of production cost graph, we can get a lot of information from it, like the relative frequency for each class interval, and we can determine which is the highest, which is 22 to 33 million of production cost, which is 0.233 relative frequency. This is the cumulative relative frequency for production cost graph, which explain the distribution of production costs across the companies that in the sample. We can see the graph movement to the right that has its own steepness, and data that we can get such like 0.5 or half of the company have their production costs below 44 million. Similar to the production cost, the profit margin, we also provide the table to make it easier for us to make the graph later on. Moving to relative frequency for profit margin graph, we can see that the data points of this graph gradually increase to the right, and their two class interval shares the highest relative frequency, which is 22.1 to 24% and 24.1 to 26% of profit margin, which is as high up as 0.2% of relative frequency. Last but not least, the cumulative relative frequency for profit margin graph shows that it's gradually increased to the right and less steep than the production cost cumulative relative frequency graph. So in short, the data distribution for the profit margin is increased evenly than the production cost. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Sean Lester, and my number metric is PB23110484. And as we all can see that I will in charge in part 2, which I will present about how to calculate and compare measure of central location between the two key performance indicators, which is we know that the two performance indicators is production cost and the profit margin. There are four ways for us to measure central location, which is the first one is by mean, also known as average. So how do we calculate mean? Is by we sum up all of the value in the data set and we divide it by groups or classes. And the next one is median, which is the middle value if the number of observation is odd, or the average of the two middle value if the number of observation is even. And the third one is mode, which is the most frequently occurring data in the data set. And the last one is weighted mean, but since it is not relevant in the study case, we will not calculate the weighted mean. The production cost, we have to calculate the mean, median, and the mode for this. So before we calculate the three central location, we have to rearrange the value in the dataset from smallest value until the largest value. So as we all can see in the slide, I already arranged it and we are able to start calculate our mean. So as I have mentioned before, mean is the average value, so we have to sum up all of the value in the dataset and we will divide it by 30, which is the number of the company in the dataset, and the answer is 49.47, as I only take 2 decimal points, which will make me more easier to make others calculation in the next question. So for me, 2 decimal points is more easier for me to make any calculation in the future or in the next question in this study case or other study case. So the median is, as I have highlighted in the 15 and 16 number, 43.7 plus 48.8. Since the dataset is even, so we have to take the 2 middle value and divide it by 2, and the answer is 46.25, and the mode is 36.2, which occurs 2 times in Infineon Technologies Malaysia Sdn Berhad and Kosan Rubber Industries Berhad. The last one is we calculate the mean, median and mode for the profit margin. So as I have mentioned before we start to calculate these three, we have to rearrange the value from the smallest value until the largest value in the dataset. So as we all can see, as we have arranged the dataset, we can calculate the mean, which is we will sum up all of the value in the dataset and we will divide it by 30. Since there are 30 companies in the dataset and the answer is 24.72. For the median, my answer is 25.35, where I find it by, as we have seen in the highlighted table, 25.2 and 25.5 if the 15 and 16 numbers, and I take the 2 numbers because the dataset is have the number of observation even, so we will divide that by 2 and the answer is 25.35. and since there are more than one mode in this dataset, so we can call it by multiple mode, and my answer is 21.2, 22.1, 23.3, 26.3, 27.6 and 30, since the numbers is occurs 2 times for each values. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day to Dr. Debra. First of all, Assalamualaikum. My name is Asrul bin Roland and my number metric is BB23110504. So today I will going to present part 3, which focus on calculating percentiles and construct box plot for 2 key performance indicator, that is production cost and profit margin. So to begin, here are the data that I got from using Excel to compute the quartiles and percentile. First for production cost, and the second one is profit margin. Following that, we will analyze the box plot representing these 2 indicators. For the analysis of production cost, show the mean of 49.47 million and the median of 46.25 million, indicating a fair balance distribution with a slight right skewness. The data of production costs span a wide range from 11.8 to 97.2 million, reflecting significant variability in production expenses. The interquartile range, the IQR, is for the production cost is 41.25 million, which means that the middle 50% of the production costs vary widely. This variability suggests a diverse operational scale, with some company managing low costs and other incurring significantly higher expenses. On the other hand, profit margin are far more consistent, where the mean is 24.72% and the median is 25.35%, showing a symmetrical and well-centered distribution. But the data range is much narrower than the production cost, from 16.3% to 31.2%, and the interquartile range is just 5.725%. This low variability indicate that most companies maintain profit margin within a predictable and tight range, suggesting that pricing and operational efficiency are well regulated across the sector. For the comparison between these two indicators, production costs are highly variable with a wide range and interquartile, while the profit margin are stable and tightly clustered. The variability in production costs indicate that some companies face higher operational expenses, possibly due to large project or inefficiency. This presents opportunity to identify cost-saving measure or optimize production process, while the stability in profit margin suggests that this company operate within a predictable market condition with minimal impact from the cost fluctuation. This consistency provide a reliable foundation for financial planning and long-term growth. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning. My name is Muhammad Arif bin Roslan. So for part 4, I'm going to explain about calculate and compare measures of dispersion between the two key performance indicator divided into 4 parts. So for part 1, it's actually range. To calculate range, you need to use the highest value, which is for the maximum, minus smallest value, minimum, and the answer you will get at T5.4, which is the range. To understand it more clearly, it's actually spread out the data and help to identify the extent of variation between the highest and the lowest value. Let's proceed to part 2, mean absolute deviation. The production cost is 21.65 millions. A higher MAD denotes greater unpredictability in the manufacturing cost, as they are further dispersed from the average value. Moving forward to profit margin, the answer is 3.12%. The profit margin are more stable and less variable from the average value when the MAD is smaller. For part 3, variance and standard deviation, variance for production cost is 646.10 million squared, which is the same also, but representative at the average production cost for each company deviates from the mean by 25.40 million, according to the standard deviation for production cost, which is 25.42 million, because it is expressed in the same unit. This figure is simpler to comprehend than variance. So dispersion of profit margin expressed as squared percentage represented by the profit margin variance, which is 14.46% squared. The profit margin standard deviation is 3.80%, meaning that each company profit margin typically deviates from the mean by 3.80%, because it is in the same unit, it is easier to understand. Last but not least, for part 4, coefficient of variation, production cost has a CV of 0.514 or 51.4%. This indicates that there is roughly 51.4% variation in production cost compared to the average. Significant variation in manufacturing costs are suggested by a larger CV, which shows that costs are more variable than their mean. So for the profit margin, CV is 15.4% or 0.154. This indicates that there is a 15.4% variation in profit margin compared to the average. When compared to production expenses, a lower CV suggests more reliable and consistent profit margin. That's all for me. Thank you so much.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Yusuf bin Roda. My matric number is BB23161107. Today, I will present part 5, the last part in the presentation. I will present about calculate and interpret measure of association between the two key performance indicator. This one is to find the correlation and covariance. And this this all to find the correlation and covariance and correlation. Must be find the covariance first and then correlation. This all mean of x and y. To find the covariance is find the mean x and y like this and subtract the mean from each value of x and y, multiply the result for each pair of value, find the average of this product. And the correlation must be find the covariance first and calculate the standard deviation of x and y and divide the covariance by the product by the standard deviation. And this one is total of calculation of the mean to find the covariance. The total is negative 2513.02. This is formula to find covariance. My answer is negative at 6.66. The interpretation is negative because the x and y not decrease and increase. This not same. For the correlation, my answer is negative 0.9. My interpretation is perfect negative relationship because is negative 0.7 is near of negative 1. That's all. Thank you.